Hi, Chad here with Purple Collar Life. In today's video we're talking about oil undercoating on a vehicle, what it is, what it does, and why I do it. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I've got a pretty funny story to tell you about a trip we took to Tennessee. So how the Expedition looks right now, or the XB as we call it, is pretty typical for a Pennsylvania winter. Now we try to go through the car wash and spray this off as often as possible, and we like those car washes that have the underbelly sprayer. You go nice and slow as you enter the car wash bay, and it sprays water up underneath the chassis of the car. That's really important here in Pennsylvania because, as you can see, we treat our roads with rock salt, and rock salt eats metal. So all of this white that you're seeing here is the rock salt that was on the roads when I drove home from picking up Jennifer and Mackenzie at the Pittsburgh airport. They took a little wintertime trip to Disney World, and I actually washed the car right before I picked them up. Washed the car at 9, picked them up at noon, got home by about 3 o'clock, and this is what the car looked like just from driving on our Pennsylvania roads with the rock salt. Like I said, I'm a firm believer in oil undercoating. I'll talk to you a little bit about what that process is, what it does, and why I like it. This is our 2005 F350 Super Duty diesel. I bought this vehicle new in 2005, and I've had it the entire time. Every single year I've had it undercoated. One year I switched from oil undercoating to fluid film. This is fluid film. If you've never seen or used it before, it's got a lot of really good uses. I actually really enjoy it for some applications. I'll talk to you a little bit later in this video about why I will never again use fluid film for undercoating a vehicle. Now, like I said, this is a 2005 F350. I'm about to show you every spot of rust on this truck. And the fact that you're not seeing rusted out door panels, a rusted out bed, and a rusted out tailgate, and worst of all, a rusted out frame or underbody is, I believe, thanks to the oil undercoating. If you're not familiar with oil undercoating and you take your car for the very first time, they may ask you, do you want it drilled and plugged? I advise you say yes. And here's an example of what happens when you say yes. They're going to drill a little hole on the door panels in the tailgate. That allows them to reach a wand in there and spray oil that then seals the bottom of the door. Then they put this little plug in it, and whenever you take it back to get undercoated another time, which I take mine back every year, they just pop that plug out, put the wand in again, it sprays inside of that door. Now, of course, it's not going to totally eliminate the possibility of rust. You can see actually here, my 2005 is starting to get some rust on the bottom of the door. Now, I am certain that would be way worse had I not had this undercoated every year. There's still solid metal underneath there, but you can see that layer of undercoat kind of stuck on the paint, and the paint's now coming off. But not bad for being 17 years later. So here's the rocker panel. You can actually see there's no rust here, but you can see that undercoating, how it kind of builds up this layer. And the guy that I take this to, he uses a mix of like a bar and chainsaw oil. It's real sticky and thick, and year after year after year, that builds up a really nice coating, almost like a rubbery coating on the bottom of the truck. He also sprays the hood. You can see right there where some oil kind of comes out of any of the holes or the low spots when the engine heats up. It does when it naturally just drip out. So you will, like if you look down here, this is where that oil drips on top of the sticker. It's not the cleanest. You're gonna have oil drips on your cement floor. The oil drips right here on the headlight and kind of runs down the headlight, just washes off with some regular soap. But as you can see, after all these years, hood's still in really good shape. As you can look back the frame there, you can see everything's still looking pretty good. Good coat of that oil on the entire length of the frame, which protects the frame. Now right here, you can see there actually is a little bit of rust there. Two primary reasons for that. One, as you're driving, that's right above the tire. You can see I'm actually right above the tire. And all the spray hits here all the time and it kind of rinses that oil off. Second thing is what I wanted to talk to you about, why I will never again use fluid film. So this had been oil undercoated for more than 10 years, and I decided to give fluid film a try. And when the fluid film application went on and it touched the frame, it actually penetrated through the oil undercoating, and the oil undercoating flaked off the frame. So if you've been oil undercoating a vehicle for a long time and you've got that nice coating on it, the fluid film does kind of like you're seeing right here and makes that oil flake off. It just is so penetrating, it actually penetrates through the bar and chain oil. So that's why I prefer the bar and chain oil. I'll never again switch back to the fluid film, because the bar and chain gives it that nice coating that builds up over time. And if you do it year after year after year, that'll keep protecting everything underneath the body of your vehicle. The tailgate here is a prime example of places that trucks rust. And you can see I have no rust, but what I do have is oil. So here I'm moving with my finger. You can see how nice that paint is underneath the oil. When I get my truck oil undercoated, I actually leave the oil right here. So it kind of leaks down to the bottom, and I don't wash it off. When I'm washing the truck, I pretty much stop at this line because I want that oil to be at the bottom of the tailgate protecting it. And like I said, yes, it is messy. You can see we've got oil over here in the hinges. It's gonna drip down on top of the bumper. You can see it's dripped right here. It's hard to keep those things clean when the oil is dripping whenever it heats up, but it really protects the paint and the metal. And I think maybe you can see right there is the hole that they use to put the wand in and spray the tailgate. So after 17 years, this is my worst spot. This is the crew door, the passenger rear door on the driver's side. You can see we've got some rust here. The gasket's actually coming out of the door. So this is something I'll need to get taken care of this summer. Get the bottom of this door fixed. You can see right here, there's some rust on that corner. But still, the rocker that it sits up against, all in good shape. It's just this section of the door where the salt and grime hits that needs some repair. So I said I'd show you all the rust spots. I've got another one right here. Just the very bottom of the fuel fill door, a little bit of rust on that. And then the last one right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera or not, but there's a little bit of bubbling right there. So like I said, for a 2005, that's pretty unbelievable that those are my spots of rust. Mainly the bottom rear door on the driver's side, the little bit of the bottom door on the driver's door, and then that little bubble of rust right around the wheel well there. Nothing on the tailgate, not all rusted out up here along the top of the fender well. Frame's still in good shape underneath that coating. So I'm very happy with the choice to oil undercoat this truck all this time. So here you can see the Expedition also has that little plug. And that's where they shoot the wand in to fill the door up. You can see it's in really good shape. Exact same here on the rear door, little plug to fill up with oil. I've also had the little Ranger done. There's evidence of that right here. So you can see the oil kind of drips out of the low spot on the door there. yeah, it doesn't look beautiful, but it's definitely going to protect that paint from rusting out. So you can see that's draining right there. That oil drains out of the door. You can see bottom of the door looks really good. Whole way across it. There you can see the coating that's forming on that frame. So here's a spot where there's not a lot of coating on the frame, but just behind that you can see where the coating is really working. And if you can see up through there, that frame's all coated, in good shape. Now the Volt's a little bit tricky. As we know, oil is a penetrating fluid, so we have never had the Chevy Volt undercoated. With all the electronics and the fact that there's a huge T-shaped battery that runs from the front to the back of the vehicle, we didn't want to risk oil getting in there and messing something up with the electronic drive system of the Volt, getting into those electric servos, messing up the battery. So the Volt is our only vehicle that we've never oil undercoated. So you're probably asking, how much does it cost? Well, I'll tell you that the bar and chain oil undercoat application is way cheaper than the fluid film. The fluid film cost us about $200 when we did the big truck, and the regular oil undercoat cost us about $80 on the big truck. So significant difference there. And again, I actually like the bar and chain oil undercoat a lot better. So good savings, and I think better protection. Now the bigger the car, the more expensive. I think the little truck here was only $60 to get it oil undercoated. So, you know, not that much. And like I say, I do it every single year. I'd much rather make the investment in the oil undercoating than in having to do body work. I think the little truck's looking good here. I think the Expedition's looking good other than being filthy. No rust on it. And for a 2005 F350, I think the truck looks great. A little bit of body work to do on it, but significantly less than if we had never applied the oil. So I did want to tell you that funny story about having the Expedition out in Tennessee. We actually took a family trip down to a big cabin in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. We drove this Ford Expedition, and great riding vehicle, by the way. Great for road trips like that. Nice, lots of storage, lots of space for family to fit in. So we get to this big cabin in the Smoky Mountains. We're having a little bit of trouble with our brakes in the Expedition. They are heating up, we can smell them. When you press the brake pedal, we're swerving to one side, so I knew something wrong with the caliper or something wrong with the brakes on the Expedition. So on the way home, we're a little bit worried about it. We stop in at like a Meineke place. It was a tire and brake shop. So we stop in there and we're like, hey, can you take a quick look at this, see if the brakes need something done to them? They take a look. They actually end up replacing a caliper, which we were glad they were able to do that for us. Didn't charge us an arm and a leg. So ready to get back on our trip. And the mechanic actually comes over to the car. I rolled down the window and he's like, hey, are you guys on your way home or on your way to vacation? And we said, well, we're on our way home. We have the long drive tonight and tomorrow. And he's like, oh, that's good. He's like, as soon as you get it home, you've got to have someone take a look at this. I'm like, why? What's going on? He's like, it's got a major oil leak. And I thought, oh man, I better get some oil to take along. I'm like, well, where is it leaking from? Is it the rear main seal? What's leaking on it? He's like, everywhere. The entire length of the car is covered with oil. It's leaking somewhere and spraying the whole way back the chassis of the vehicle. And I immediately smiled because I had a pretty good idea. And I said, are you talking about the oil undercoating? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, in Pennsylvania, we get salt and snow, so we spray oil the whole way under the vehicle. He's like, that could be it. He said, but I'd recommend you get it looked at as soon as you get back. So of course, when we got back, we took a good look under the vehicle, and that's exactly what he was talking about. That layer of oil the whole way back the vehicle, he thought was some type of a mechanical leak that the whole way to Tennessee had been leaking and spraying all over the vehicle. So a little bit of funny story there. If you're from an area that's not familiar with oil undercoating, I guess that would be a common misconception. If you see a vehicle that's totally coated with oil underneath, you would think there's something mechanically wrong with it. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out if you're considering oil undercoating. Hopefully this is information that's valuable to you.